I saw him standing in the middle of the highway just after 3 a.m. At first, I thought it was roadkill, just another shadow in the dark, something to steer around and forget. But as my headlights swept forward, I saw the details. A man, standing perfectly still, facing me, waiting. The highway was deserted. No towns for miles. No lights, no signs of life. Just a stretch of empty road cutting through the trees. The man stood directly in my lane. No car nearby. No reason to be there. And yet, he wasn't moving. Not waving me down. Not signaling for help. Just standing there. I hit the horn. Long, loud. No reaction. He didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. The hair on my arms stood up. Something about him felt off. I flipped my high beams on. And that's when I saw it. His neck. Bent at an unnatural angle. Not just a slight tilt. His entire head was crooked too far to the side. Like someone had grabbed his head and twisted it. And he was smiling. Not a normal smile. Not a relieved, "Thank God you found me" smile. This was something else. His lips pulled too wide, too tight. Teeth too white, too straight. It wasn't a human expression. It was the kind of grin a mannequin would have. Fixed in place. Forced. Unnatural. I gritted my teeth and kept driving. I checked my rearview mirror. He was gone. There was no way he could have moved that fast. I shuddered, forcing my eyes back to the road. But that feeling didn't leave me. That horrible, gnawing certainty that I was being watched. The highway stretched ahead, empty and endless. I told myself it was nothing. A trick of the light. Just exhaustion messing with my head. And then, I saw him again. Standing at the edge of the road. Closer this time. Facing the highway, his grin wider. Neck still bent. Still watching me. My pulse pounded. I checked the mirrors. Still nothing behind me. Still no sign of where he came from. It was like he had just appeared. I pressed the gas pedal. Didn't care about the speed limit anymore. I just needed to get away. I turned on the CB radio, hoping to hear another trucker nearby. The speaker hissed. Then, a voice. "You're not supposed to see him." A cold chill ran down my spine. I grabbed the mic, knuckles white. "Who is this?" Static. Then, "Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop." I slammed the radio off. I was done playing games. I just needed to make it to the next town. Lights appeared in the distance. A rest stop. I pulled in fast, my tires skidding on the pavement. The lot was empty. No cars. No other trucks. Just a single dimly lit gas station. I turned off the engine. Sat there, breathing, hands shaking. I reached for my thermos, needing something to ground me, and then I saw it, sitting on the passenger seat. A red envelope. I hadn't noticed it before, hadn't put it there. I reached for it with trembling fingers. The paper was smooth. I peeled it open, my breath catching in my throat. Inside was a single note, written in small, careful handwriting. "Don't look in the mirror." I froze. My blood turned to ice. Slowly, I turned my head toward the rearview mirror. And there, sitting in my sleeper cabin, was him, smiling, waiting. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember driving. But when I came to, I was parked outside a different truck stop, the sun just beginning to rise. The red envelope was gone. The mirrors were clean, like it had never happened at all. I don't drive that highway anymore, and I never look in my mirrors at night, because I know what I'll see. A man standing in the road, neck bent, grinning, waiting. I've been a long-haul delivery driver for years, taking jobs that other drivers avoid. I don't mind the isolation, the long nights, or the occasional sketchy location. It comes with the territory. But this stop? Something about it felt wrong before I even got there. The order was weird from the start. There was no company name, no return address, just a handwritten note with instructions. Deliver after midnight. Do not leave unattended. That should have been a red flag. The GPS barely recognized the address. It led me miles off the highway, down an unmarked road that twisted through the woods. No street lights, no houses, just darkness pressing in on both sides. By the time I reached my destination, I was convinced my GPS was screwing with me, because this wasn't a house. It was a trailer. A single rusted trailer sat in the clearing, its windows black and empty. The place looked abandoned, like it hadn't been lived in for years. But then, the front door creaked open, and an old woman stepped out. She was thin, almost too thin. Her skin stretched tightly over her face, her cheekbones sharp as knives. Her white hair hung in tangled clumps, unbrushed, unkempt. But it was her eyes that unsettled me the most. Wide, unblinking, like she had been waiting for me. "You're a strong one," she said. Her voice was dry, brittle, like dead leaves rustling in the wind. I forced a polite chuckle. "Yeah, heavy lifting is part of the job." She didn't blink, didn't even smile. Then she stepped aside. "Come inside. I need help with something." I hesitated. I wasn't supposed to enter customers' homes. Company policy. But something about the way she was looking at me made my stomach twist. Still, I didn't want to be rude. So I lied. "Sorry, ma'am. I'm in a rush. Got a lot more stops tonight." Her expression didn't change, but her eyes darkened, like she was disappointed or annoyed. "At least bring it inside," she said, stepping back. I didn't want to, but I just wanted to be done with this stop. So I stepped inside, and immediately regretted it. The smell hit me first. Rotting meat. Thick. Overwhelming. It clung to the air, suffocating. The inside of the trailer was cold. Colder than outside. Like the heat hadn't been on in weeks. The walls were lined with old wallpaper, peeling at the edges. The furniture was ancient and used, like no one had sat there in years. And then, I noticed the closet door, slightly ajar. And inside, something moved. A faint shuffling sound, soft, like fabric shifting, like someone breathing. I froze, turned to the old woman. She was staring at me, still watching, still waiting. My pulse pounded. I forced a tight smile. "All set, ma'am. Have a good night." I turned to leave, and she grabbed my arm. Her grip was too strong, her nails sharp, digging into my skin. "Stay a while," she whispered. My mouth went dry. I yanked my arm free. Too hard, too fast. Didn't care if I was rude. I walked straight for the door. Didn't look back. Didn't check the closet. Didn't give her a chance to stop me again. The moment I stepped outside, I felt like I could breathe again. I moved fast, climbing back into my truck. Locked the doors. Started the engine. My headlights lit up the trailer. The old woman was still standing in the doorway, still staring. But now, the closet door behind her was wide open, and something was standing in the shadows. Tall, thin, too many joints. I peeled out of there. Didn't look back. Didn't stop until I hit the next town. I parked at a well-lit gas station, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched. Took a deep breath. Told myself I was just tired, that my mind was playing tricks on me. Then I saw it, sitting on my passenger seat. A red envelope. I hadn't put it there. Hadn't even seen it when I got in. Hands shaking, I picked it up. The paper felt warm. I peeled it open. Inside was a single note, written in small, careful handwriting. "Next time, don't go inside." I didn't sleep that night. By morning, the red envelope was gone. No proof. No way to explain it. Just the memory of that smiling old woman. And the thing in the closet. I don't deliver to isolated houses anymore. And if someone ever asks me to step inside, I tell them no. Because now I understand. Not every house is a home. And sometimes, they're just waiting for you to come inside. I pulled into the gas station a little after 2 a.m. At first, everything seemed normal. Flickering neon lights. The faint hum of the old fuel pumps. Just another quiet stop on a long, empty highway. But then I saw the car, parked near the entrance. The driver's side door was wide open, and there was no one inside. Something about it immediately felt off. The car wasn't running. There were no lights on. No movement inside. Just an empty vehicle, sitting in the dark. Like someone had just gotten out, and never came back. I killed the engine, my truck rumbling into silence. The parking lot was deserted. No customers. No employees. No signs of life. Just me, and the open car, waiting. I hesitated before stepping out. The air was too still. No wind. No crickets. Just that unnatural silence that makes your skin crawl. I kept my eyes on the car as I walked toward the store, half expecting someone to come running out, half hoping I wasn't about to find a body inside. The gas station doors slid open with a mechanical hiss. The air inside was stale. It smelled like dust, old coffee, and something else. Something metallic. I stepped inside, my boots echoing against the linoleum. Rows of dusty snacks and outdated soda bottles lined the shelves. The place felt abandoned. Except, there was someone behind the counter. A clerk, standing perfectly still. Not moving, not blinking, just staring at me. His uniform was faded, like it hadn't been washed in years. His name tag was blank, and his eyes were too wide, too focused, like he was trying to remember how to act normal. I swallowed hard. Hey, you still open? The clerk didn't respond, didn't acknowledge me, just kept watching. Something about him made my stomach twist, like I was looking at a mannequin that had learned how to breathe. I moved toward the counter, my hands itching to leave. I should have just walked out, should have just kept driving, but I needed gas, and something about that car outside was nagging at me. I cleared my throat. Pump 3. The clerk slowly turned his head, not like a normal person, not like a natural movement, more like a puppet on strings. His neck cracked, his lips curled up into a grin, and then he spoke. You're the first one tonight. A cold chill rushed down my spine. I forced a laugh. Yeah? Slow night? The clerk didn't blink, didn't break that too wide grin. He reached under the counter. My pulse pounded. I half expected him to pull out a gun. Instead, he slid something across the counter. A red envelope. I stared at it. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. I swallowed. What is this? The clerk's grin widened. Payment. I took a step back. For what? His expression didn't change, just lifted his hand and pointed. I followed his gaze, looked toward the back of the store, and that's when I saw it. The fridge doors were open, and inside, something was watching me. A face, pressed against the glass, mouth open, eyes black, and then it smiled. I bolted, didn't grab the envelope, didn't ask questions. I just ran. The moment I burst through the doors, the air felt different. The parking lot was darker, like the lights had dimmed, like the gas station was shrinking. I jumped into my truck, locking the doors, checked my mirrors. The store was dark, no lights, no clerk, like it had never been open at all. And sitting on my passenger seat, the red envelope. My hand shook as I picked it up. The paper was warm. I peeled it open. Inside was a single note, written in small, careful handwriting. You took too long. I didn't stop again that night, didn't sleep, didn't talk about it. By morning, the red envelope was gone. No proof, no way to explain it. Just the memory of that clerk's empty stare, and the smiling thing in the cooler. I don't stop at unmarked gas stations anymore. And if a clerk hands me an envelope, I don't open it. Because now, I understand. Some places don't exist on a map, and if you stay too long, you don't exist anymore either.